Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Peter Parker from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and it's a very stylized figure. I'm going to review a few of these, not all of them, because I'm just not into the whole animated styling, but I know some of you might be, and I think some of the figures look like they might be good, so figured it was only my job to review at least a few of them. So this is going to be the first one of, I think, 4 that we're going to look at. And there's actually some good stuff going on here. Some stuff that's not very good, and then some stuff that's pretty bad. But I think it's worth checking out. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, before we look at the figure, let's go ahead and look at my package. It is like the retro packaging, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure why they're going this route, but they did. And it looks fine. If you like that styling, you will be okay with this. Kind of makes the figures feel cheap, but I think that might also be because the figure is very cheap looking. I don't know, there's something about this. To me, it looks like a kid's toy on this card. I guess because it's not a retro thing. I don't know, there's something about it. Let me know if you guys have that same vibe, but if not, it's totally up to you. I'm not a packaging guy, I don't care. It's gonna go in the recycling bin. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy. He stands roughly 16.5 centimeters. He's a little shy of that, and that's going to make him just about 6 and, let's say, 3/8. Here he is up against Darwin. Come on, Darwin. So yeah, they're pretty close enough. He fits in with Marvel Legends. He's not like a different scale for the movie or anything like that, so that's good. This guy is in stock at Big Bad Toy Store, by the way. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to get one by the end of this review. Alright, so the first thing I have to do is ask a question of the day. Do you guys like the stylization? I don't mean like the cinematic nature of the animated movie. I'm talking about like the elongated proportions and tiny heads and things like that. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't care. It's not my thing. But as far as like a cohesive look, I think they did a pretty good job with it. And this figure, I thought, did a pretty good job of capturing it. So I figured I'd go ahead and review it. So let's get into the aesthetic. Proportions-wise, it looks good to me. I think they did a pretty good job. The only thing that really stands out would be the hips. They still have that weird thing where the hips stick out past the pelvis. And that's just not the way it should be ever. I don't know why Hasbro doesn't understand that. It's a very simple concept and not super hard to achieve. So, because like every other company doesn't have this. So it's very, very weird. So there's that. But otherwise, the proportioning is pretty darn good. I think he has a nice silhouette. At least from the front. From the side, it's not bad. I don't remember him having no nose. But this one has no nose, so I could be wrong, but there's that. The shoulder's a little bit far forward, but otherwise he's okay. Unnaturally slender, but that's the way he's supposed to be. So that's okay. The sculpt, I think, is generally fine until we get to the articulation. As far as the paint goes, well, the eyes are nice and clean, so no issues there. The chest, that's fine. Most of the line work is okay. It's not particularly good, but it looks all right. Now the problem I have is this whole abdominal section right here is painted and this is not, and they don't really go together at all. The painted part, this down here and this down here, looks like crap. The red is horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but underneath each of the little spider web things, there's like blue showing. And also the sculpt is just not very good for the webbing. It's an entirely different style of sculpting. This looks like the webbing is recessed. This looks like a bunch of little panels that are embossed. So it's very strange the way they did this. Not great. Not great. The arms are okay. They have a weird mix of painted reds and painted blues mixed with molded reds and molded blues. And it doesn't look great wherever you see that transition. The painted blues are almost glossy metallic like you can see on the arms, but then the molded ones are not, so it's definitely not good looking. And then of course the webbing is just not there at all in terms of paint, so it does have a very cheap, very, very cheap look to it. It's not terrible from a distance, but it's definitely not an impressive looking figure. So aesthetically, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's not especially good. Now, as far as accessories go, you do get the unmasked head. That's actually the one that comes on him in the package. I think that's done really well. The paints are clean, the sculpt is good, the hair has a wash in it, no problem there. You have the masked head, we already talked about it. And then you have the 2 fist hands and 2 whipping hands. That's it. No wall crawling hands, no webs, nothing else. So accessory-wise, 3 out of 10. It's just not enough. Hasbro, you cheapskates, it's just not enough. Okay, so let's talk about the articulation, because I think this might be this figure's strong suit in some ways, and then definitely not in others. Alright, so for the neck, we have the old antiquated disc hinge, which does allow him to look really far up. So if you like that, that's your thing. And then if you want him to look all the way down and have a broken neck, you can do that. But he can't lean his head side to side at all, so you just get your rotation, and it's kind of goofy looking. So it's really only good for that one thing of looking really far up. Alright, for the shoulders, no butterfly joint or anything like that, but it is a decent sized shoulder, fairly well placed given this stylization. Getting the arm all the way up, though, requires a little bit of a trick of making sure you don't lift on the arm, because the plastic is so soft. As you do that, it just separates from the shoulder, so be very careful with that. You might just rip that peg right off, but he does get up to horizontal, so I guess that's okay if you're careful. Bicep swivel is, of course, fine. Double jointed elbow gives him good range. There's no real problems there. It's not the best looking elbow they've done, but it's fine. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. That's fine. This upper diaphragm joint, let's see how this functions. Doesn't go back very far at all, just a little bit. Going forward, it's not bad, but it doesn't go that far. And then going side to side, hopefully... No, he doesn't have very good range side to side. He has some, it's fine, but that's it. Of course, you get your rotation. So they want you to use this joint more, which is just ridiculous. Whoever, stop using this. It's not good. It has never been good. Never. Ever, ever, ever. It's not the right joint. Especially with the design like this. Look at that. If there's ever been a design that suggested we use a ball peg, it's this one. You don't have to break the suit up at all, but they did. They broke the suit up, and he leans all the way back right at the top of his pelvis. Not at the hip and not at the spine, right at the top of the pelvis. Gives him a weird constipation stomach. It's just, and it barely leans forward, by the way, and it still looks like crap. It's ridiculously bad. It's not how you should design action figures at all. Now, for the hips, they have drop downs. Let's see if it's any good. Going out to the side, no, we can't even get 45 degrees, so that's incredibly limited. Drop downs don't affect that. So we have the drop down. Let's pull it all the way down and see how far up the leg can go. It does go up pretty high. Obviously, it has to be rotated to be not goofy, but then it actually bumps into the hip, so it does limit it some. But yeah, you can get that working pretty well. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it'll work, especially if you go out like this. Yeah, you can get him doing some poses with the hip. It's going to be a task, but you can definitely do it. Now, one problem I have, other than this being incredibly hideous, is this is bad. Because if you line the thigh up with the hip piece, so that the sculpt is flush right here, on both legs, it points the knees inward. So if you want the legs to be straight, you're going to have a shelf on each leg. And it's not like a huge deal, but it shouldn't be there at all, so be aware of that. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee is pretty good. No problems there. You do get a boot swivel. I like that. That's always helpful when it can be hidden nicely. I like it. And then for the ankle, it goes all the way back and far enough forward, and you get a decent ankle rocker. So in some ways, he poses just fine. Basically in the hips, other than going out to the side, but you can do that little shimmy to get him out there. Ankles are good, knees are good, elbows are good. Shoulders are okay. Yeah, it's not bad. There are some problems, though, so I'll give him a 7. He's not like any sort of special poser or anything like that. So, time for the final verdict. Is this some kind of good special Spider-Man? No, it's not. But is it a nice addition to a maybe varied Spider-Man collection? I don't know about nice. It's nice enough. If you want something like this, you can probably justify away the problems. But for me, having this painted area look so bad and having this giant gap for this horrible hinge, it's just not enough for me. I actually really like the styling. It reminds me of some of the older, like 5-inch figures, and I enjoy it. I even don't mind the bare plastic, but I can't get past that torso being so horrible in terms of paint and sculpt and articulation. It's just not, it's not going to do it for me, but I would say for Marvel Legends, it's going to get a 6 out of 10. It's a Spider-Man figure that doesn't have exceptionally good articulation. The paints are not very good. Sculpt is okay mostly, except for where articulation comes in and the accessories are limited, so it just doesn't really hit the mark. It's going to be okay if you really like the character, you can justify it probably. this version of the character. But for everyone else, it's probably a pass. That's my take on it. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, but that's it for me, so thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.